How's it going, folks? It's time for day 2, draft number 1 in the Arena Open. Unfortunately, I unplugged my microphone before I recorded and didn't notice. So just underneath this camera that you're seeing is a camera of me that I am watching talk to absolutely nobody for this entire time. I'm going to be doing some voiceover so that y'all still have some commentary on what I was thinking as I went through the draft and the first game. The rest of the video will be live voiceover, live commentary. But just for this draft and this first game, it's going to be a little bit of post-hoc. I will do my best not to spoil anything and just sort of talk about the stuff that I was thinking as I was going through the draft and that first round. So yeah, let's get into it. Skip a couple seconds ahead if I can figure out how to do the controls. Here we go. So first pick, I'm looking at Sinkhole Surveyor, the rare. This is not an incredibly powerful card. It goes pretty well in black aggro, which basically means green-black aggro. It could also be white-black mid-range. The problem is this pack is just extremely weak. Sibsig Appraiser is really the only other thing to think about here, and Dragon Sniper. Kishla Village, also pretty good. A good thing to do with your mana, but Lion Weight is a powerful card, but not exactly a lock yourself into Sultai or 5-color strength card. So I'm thinking probably go with that Sinkhole Surveyor and not put a ton of weight on that. Just trying to take the most powerful card, the card with the most upside in the pack. Moving on to the next pack, and probably the highest win rate card in the pack is that Descendant of Storms up in the top left. It's a 1-mana creature. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 1 and a white. If you do, it endures 1. It's a pretty powerful white creature. Overwhelming Surge is pretty mediocre removal. Essence Anchor is kind of a nothing. Attuned Hunter is fine in green-black counters, and Skirmish Rhino is fine in Abzan. Another Sibsig Appraiser, pretty strong. Molten Exhale is strong common removal spell that I definitely could have considered taking as well, but went with the Descendant of Storms. Another Attuned Hunter, Channeled Dragonfire and Defibrillating Current, quite weak uncommons. Salt Road Pack Beast is probably a consideration here, just on the strength of it being a very good white aggro card, and white aggro being sort of the thing to do when you don't get powerful cards. Talking about that Gurmag Rakshasa, how underwhelming of a card that is a 6-mana uncommon. 5/5 Menace is fine, sure, but 6 mana is so much to pay. 6 mana, you get like Armament Dragon, 3/4, puts 3+1/+1 counters however you choose, anywhere, and it's a dragon which has upside and it's flying instead of menace. Rakshasa is just like the -2/-2 is just so minor of a consideration. So at this point, I'm thinking probably white aggro. We'll see if red or black is going to be the secondary color, since my best card by a little bit is black, but I've got 2 solid white cards. Now I've got the Mardu Siegebreaker as the rare. That's going to be 4 mana, 1 in Mardu, Death Touch Haste. You can see it on the screen now. And it does some cool copying shenanigans. Exiles a creature you control, and whenever you attack with Siegebreaker, it makes a copy. So you get to copy your ETB triggers, you get to copy your death triggers, and when they get rid of Siegebreaker, you get your card back. Really good combo with like Salt Road Pack Beast, for example. You just get to keep attacking with this 4/3, and it keeps drawing you cards. Whenever they eventually get rid of that Death Touch Haste Siegebreaker, which will take at least 1 card, often it's going to trade for 2 creatures, then you get your original creature back. So Nothing else really to consider in that pack. Very, very weak pack so far. Another pretty weak rare in Spirit Dragon. I mean, a rare pick 5 is not super strong. Looking at Kintree Severance as probably the strongest card in the pack. But I'm thinking that Piercing Exhale is a little bit easier to cast. It's only 2 mana, and if I'm ending up in some sort of aggressive deck, be it black-green or white-green, I'm going to want to be just 2 colors, and casting a 2 mana spell is going to be a lot better than casting a 3 or 4 mana spell. A 3 color, 3 mana spell especially. I don't really see any other options here. Riverwalk Technique is fine. I could have been picking up a couple of Sib-Sig Appraisers, Riverwalk Technique, and Unending Whisper, but the problem is I wouldn't have had any powerful cards at this point. And one of the things that you need in this draft is if you're gonna make the game go long, you have to have extremely powerful stuff to be doing. Just the uncommon dragons are so incredibly strong. There are so many of them that it's almost guaranteed that you'll be fighting against them. I'm looking at the Riling Dawnbreaker here. Again, you know, 2 of my reasonable cards are white, and Dawnbreaker was just one of the only reasonable cards in the pack, and now we're looking at nothing. Crocodile is one of the worst cards in the set. Another Unending Whisper, another Essence Anchor, which is a horrible uncommon. Just keep opening. Keep looking at like really bad cards. I think everybody in this draft had a pretty bad deck. So I pick up the Sultai Devotee to go with that Piercing Exhale and Sinkhole Surveyor, thinking maybe we're moving into green-black counters here, and then Alchemist's Assistant comes along, and I actually think that card is pretty good. 2 mana, 2/1, obviously not great stats, but the ability to put counters to renew from the graveyard has a lot of synergy. There's a lot of counter synergy in green-black. Also, the lifelink is huge if you end up against another aggressive strategy. And it can help out a lot in damage races towards the end of medium to long games. Trade Route Envoy is another really solid card for the green-black counters deck, so I'm pretty happy to see that in this late. And then Attuned Hunter Wheels, and I know that I am in a lane. Delta Bloodflies is a consideration as a 2-drop that has evasion and hits reasonably hard as long as you have counters, but I think Attuned Hunter is a better card anyway. And then none of these cards are any good. It's pick 11. I'm not expecting them to be, but a 2-drop might make my deck, so pick it up. I'm really hoping that Nightwatch doesn't make my deck. The other 2 are pretty terrible. Bellringer is like a D, you know, something that you can end up playing in Jeskai if you just really need some sort of playable creature. The fact that it gives you some mana is pretty good. We open up a red rare that there's no way I'm playing. And basically nothing. This pack is awful. Dispelling Exhale is a, like... The best card in the pack is Stormscale Scion. The second best card in the pack is Dispelling Exhale. And then the third best card, there's probably an argument between a lot of cards. Here I decide that I'm going to take the Blossoming Sands because the black-green counters cards were wheeling. I got that Alchemist Assistant 8th pick last pack. And I got an Attuned Hunter 10th pick. So I decide I'll grab that Blossoming Sands. I've already got several white cards. It's very possible that I'm going to end up with some Abzan rares or uncommons that are quite powerful for the deck. So I want to get my first piece of fixing. Then I look at a pack that just has Dragon's Prey. I briefly consider Inevitable Defeat, but the red splash is just not going to happen at this point. I'm floundering a lot in this draft, so I can't really speculate, especially because this is best of 3, so I need sideboard cards. And Armament Dragon is too high on the curve for me to really consider there. Especially taking my first hard removal spell that doesn't require me to have a big creature out, or a Death Touch creature. I'm going to need cheap removal a lot more than I'm going to need expensive threats if I'm playing an aggressive green-black deck. Here, I've got 4 cards for my deck, and I think, oh dang, I am in such an open lane. I have the easiest time in the world right here. Plus, there's like nothing for anybody else in this pack. There's just not really any good cards in the pack. I mean, there are fine cards for green-black. Champion of Doosan is a great 3-drop. It's the 3-drop you want, really. Attuned Hunter is also good, and the green-black uncommon, of course, would be better. But in terms of commons, Champion of Doosan having 4 power and giving trample to the thing that it puts a counter on with the renew ability is huge. So I happily take it. I think it's better than Host of the Hereafter. Host of the Hereafter, it also has 4 power. It costs 1 more. It also passes its counters on when it dies, but that's pretty much all it does usually. So coming down a turn later is a big sacrifice, and costing another color of mana is a big sacrifice for not that much more benefit, and the trample is often really helpful as well to just push through damage. Since the longer these games go, the more likely you're going to lose to a really powerful deck. Spending some time considering the Skirmish Rhino, but considering I only have a single piece of fixing right now, I decided to go with the green 2-drop with light counter synergy. Mostly it'll help me hit my land drops. 100 Battle Veteran is a card that would be pretty good in this deck, but is generally extremely bad. It's got a very low win rate. It basically, all it does is if you play it from the graveyard and then you Champion of Doosan onto something, then it becomes a 6/6, which is pretty big. But it's basically a combo card. Otherwise, it's a 4-mana 4/2. Like, it's pretty bad. I decided to take the rare land Great Arishan City over it, which will help get some extra value from my graveyard. And then I'm really thinking about this Duty Beyond Death. I don't have any expendable creatures right now is the problem. I've really not picked up that many playables because the first pack was so bad and I spent so many picks on white that it just doesn't look like I'm gonna be able to cast Duty Beyond Death. So I end up going with the second Dragon's Prey, and then a second Aggressive Negotiations is under consideration, but I think that's like the 4th or 5th Aggressive Negotiations that I've seen. So I decided to go with the Abzan Monument just to get some fixing in there. Again, really hoping that I'll open powerful Abzan cards. There's powerful Abzan rares that 5-color decks don't want. There's powerful Abzan uncommons that 5-color decks don't want. So I'm just preparing myself for those to show up later in the draft. Pick 9, nothing comes back. This pack was horrible. This was the pack that I took. I can't remember. But I was not super excited about what I took out of it. I think it was Dragon's Prey. And then pick 10, Krumar Initiate and Snakeskin Veil. I decided to go with the second Snakeskin Veil. This is maybe a mistake. But landing a Snakeskin Veil is sort of everything that you want in this deck. Countering a removal spell and putting a +1/+1 counter on your creature is so huge. And then as these packs come in, I realize none of the cards, like several of the cards, are not wheeling. Neither of the 2 Alchemist's Assistant wheeled. The Host of the Hereafter didn't wheel. And I'm starting to get worried because it's looking like somebody else has moved into green-black counters. And unfortunately, I don't think there was any way I could have avoided this. The rare is Kotis the Fangkeeper, a very mid, like honestly pretty bad rare that would require me to splash a color that I have no fixing for. I do have a Traveling Botanist, and that's an excellent uncommon, actually, like very, very high win rate. 2 mana 2/3. It just gets to attack and draw you lands or surveil so often. A card that I really, really like having. Super fun with Heirloom, Herd's Heirloom. No, Herd's Heirloom is the rare. There's a card that'll come up later. Another Champion of Doosan, my second one. Unfortunately, all these uncommons not for my deck. Bummer. Really hoping to get some of those uncommons in there, but didn't show up. It's a Venerated Stormsinger that is not super interesting to me. Just another Champion of Doosan. And this card is exactly what I want to play on turn 3, basically every game. So I'm happy to see another one. Even though I'd rather see more powerful cards, I'd rather be seeing uncommons and rares for the deck. Really unfortunate that I didn't get past or open a single powerful rare or uncommon for this deck. Actually, I think like pretty unlucky. But I do get a full play set of Champions of Doosan. I'm looking at my deck right now and I'm like, ooh, I have 20 cards in here. And because I have 2 lands, one of which I'm not playing because I'm not splashing white at this point. And I'm thinking, oh no, nothing's going to wheel out of that pack. I need 3 more strong playables. I'm looking at Piercing Exhale, Jungle Hollow, and Rakshasa's Bargain. I don't think that Jungle Hollow is something I can afford to take. I'm just so short on playables. And Piercing Exhale in a deck that has ended up a little short on creatures for being a creature-focused aggro deck doesn't seem like a good idea. It makes my worst-case situations worse. And it makes my medium-case situations dicier because I get absolutely blown out by instant speed removal when I try to Piercing Exhale. So I end up going with the Rakshasa's Bargain. Even at 4 mana, that card is very good. Just pay 4. It's sort of the opposite of the Mardu 2 hybrid cost card, something current. Where Molten Exhale is just like a better version of that. Rakshasa's Bargain is so much better than Cruel Truths that you'll happily just pay 4 for it. Here, I'm taking Sagu Pummeler, briefly considering splashing the Stormplane Detainment, but I'm doing okay on removal, and I'm actually pretty low on creatures, and Sagu Pummeler is perfect on curve. Dragon Brood's Relic, that's the one that I was trying to remember. I'm looking at it and thinking like, yeah, I love having this acceleration piece as a combo with Traveling Botanist. And then I remember I'm playing 2 colors. And I'm playing almost exclusively 2 drops and 3 drops. So I take Heritage Reclamation for the sideboard. And pick 8 gives me the bad news. I've got nothing left. This is my deck. So basically playing this without a single powerful uncommon, 1 okay rare. Rakshasa's Bargain is arguably a powerful uncommon, but Attuned Hunter is like a mid uncommon. And what I've ended up with here is green-black commons, which is exactly where you don't want to be in this format. The problem is I don't really know what else I could have drafted. The cards that were opened were just bad. They were just pretty bad. There was an okay, there were like okay Mardu, fully committed Mardu cards, and I started with some white cards, but fully committed Mardu is not a super strong deck because it's an aggressive deck that needs to spend a lot of time fixing its mana. And it's not like I saw any Shock Brigades, it's not like I saw any War Efforts, it's not like I saw 1 Frontline Rush. No, Fortress Kin Guards. They're just, I didn't see any powerful dragons. In the original video, I am just laughing at how poorly this has turned out, how tragic this is. So I spend a little bit of time trying to figure out how to get up to 23 playables because I don't want this Abzan Monument in my deck. I think I ultimately just decide to put a couple of 2-drops in. Do I keep the Abzan Monument for the first one? I guess I do, huh? Yeah. I don't think that's a great choice in retrospect. But I've got a fair number of 2-drops. I've got some 3s. And in spite of this, I managed to see some success. So, you know, it's still a deck that has 2-drops, 3-drops, ways to protect them from removal, and ways to push through damage once the opponent has played some creatures. So, gonna jump into the first game of the draft now. Skip ahead a little bit. Nice. 2-lander of both of the wrong color to start out. And a no creature hand. Everything is coming up CaPEM today. So draw yet another non-creature. It's not looking good. Thankfully, my opponent is also starting out very slow. I decide that even without anything to put a counter on, there's no way I can't just look at their hand and take something from it. And I see that my opponent has such a greedy mana base. Also, no, I'm realizing that my webcam blocks the top left land. I believe that the top left land that they have is forest. I know that right now they can't cast any of their spells except for Disruptive Stormbrood. And I decided not to take the Disruptive Stormbrood because the Omen half of the Disruptive Stormbrood, Petty Revenge. I decided not to take it since the only creature that I have costs 4, so Petty Revenge can't even hit it. Or it has 4 power, rather. It's too big for the Petty Revenge to hit. They luckily do draw a land. But at this point, I'm really well set up. I get to play Attuned Hunter, hold up Snakeskin Veil. If they haven't drawn a land, I expect them to Petty Revenge this Attuned Hunter to keep it from beating their face really bad. They go for it, Snakeskin Veil. Got him. They take 8 next turn. And this is one of the risks of running a fully 5-color deck where so many of your powerful cards are 3 colors and 3 different colors from each other that they pretty much can't play anything. They managed to find a Sipsic Appraiser. But I have lethal with this Piercing Exhale. And we take down game 1. I think a little bit about the sideboard. I decide that it's probably worth siding in the second. Where's my 2-drop that Oh yeah, Undergrowth Leopard. They're in the 3-drop slot for some reason. I decided to put both of the Undergrowth Leopards in since they have a Roar of Bellowing Sun. Incredibly powerful enchantment. Makes 2 elephants and then doubles power and toughness of your creatures till end of turn. Not that many cards that just give you 20 power and toughness on their own. This hand is looking much better than the last one, which is nice. I get to curve. It's unfortunate that they have the Sibsig Appraiser, very effective stop sign for my 2-drop. But I at least get to aggressive negotiations. Take a peek at their hand. Here I'm taking a screenshot of their hand because I used to play Magic online and I'm dumb and forget that they will just show me the cards that I know on Arena. Kintry Severance, exile target permanent with mana value 3 or greater. That's a great card. Death Begets Life. Obviously incredibly powerful, but I just have to consider if I let them get to 8 mana, do I ever win? It's a tough choice. It's possible that the best play here is to take one of their 2 cheap removal spells in Severance or Petty Revenge, and then just try to win before they get to Death Begets Life. Oh wait, no, I've got that second aggressive negotiations. I forgot, I just drew that this turn, so... I'm just considering what among their interaction to take. They decide to Petty Revenge my Alchemist Assistant, which is fine. I just draw some cards. Two creatures, exactly what I want. I get to play them and keep up Snakeskin Veil in just a moment. Keru Goldkeeper. I really like Keru Goldkeeper. I'm sad that it doesn't have like more of a place in the meta. It's only like a fine card. It works really well in Sultai, which is not like a super strong deck. So now I just know at some point I'm going to have to cast this Aggressive Negotiations before they hit 8 mana. They're currently at 5. And if something leaves the graveyard, they get a treasure. So I got to watch out for that. Now I have a lot to think about because I probably want to keep playing to the board, and I still have a little bit of time before I need to play that Aggressive Negotiations. But I also need to end this game. The longer the game goes, the more I'm gonna lose ground. So I'm looking for a good target for these removal spells. I think this attack was a bad idea. I think they just really wanted to make the treasure from giving their Goldkeeper lifelink. It also only goes very poorly because they're trying to fix and ramp their mana. And also having a lifelinking flyer is not so bad, especially if they get to take out my Sagu Pummeler with their Kintry Severance. I, for some reason, have to think about which of these two I'm going to target. It super doesn't matter. I do this. They know that I know that they have Kin Tree Severance, but I don't think they actually have it up, right? Well, no, they do have it up. They have green, white plus the treasure. So I guess they decide I must have Snakeskin Veil and don't want to get blown out. I get to Aggressive Negotiations, buff the Champion of Doosan. They probably don't want to use the treasure because they're just trying to survive until they cast Death Begets Life. Now, of course, that's no longer an option. And then I see... what a hand. They're going to get to Flamehold Grappler and double Kin Tree Severance, or double Petty Revenge. Of course, that's not going to do anything on my current board. They're going to get to double Kin Tree Severance. Making a 3/3 first strike against my deck is very good. So I'm really worried, but also they're only 2 mana away from Death Begets Life. And I don't think that I can afford to let that happen. I think I can still win through them doubling Kin Tree Severance, since I have the Snakeskin Veil and the Dragon's Prey. I'm just going to have big creatures that can attack through what they have pretty well. Attack with everything, and then again they have the option to Kin Tree Severance here, but they want to double it with Flamehold Grappler next turn, so they don't. And they take 9. I get to hold up a ton of mana. So they make the play that I was assuming they were going to make. Flamehold Grappler into Kin Tree Severance. Now I get to see what they're targeting. I decide to save the creature with more power. And also, the creature puts more power in the graveyard. Now, I probably should have made a token with Great Arishan City by exiling that Alchemist Assistant there, but that's too bad. They decide not to double block here, which I think is a wild decision. I think I should probably kill that Flamehold Grappler this turn. Well, past me disagrees. So they get to play Tiger into... They're going to use the Gold Keeper on the Flamehold Grappler. Because having a, 4/4 flying lifelink... No, it doesn't get lifelink. No, they just make a... 3/3. Oh, I had an Undergrowth Leopard this whole time. Yeah, I definitely should have made the 1/1 a turn earlier, so that's my bad. Wayfarer, hopefully giving me more fodder for the Great Arishan City. Now I'm thinking, can I attack through this board? That Iridescent Tiger really added a ton of power and toughness. It's starting to look a little bit dicey for me. And my boy, Champion of Doosan, comes through. So now, being able to make this trade route Envoy into a 5/4 trample is huge. It gives me a much better attack than I would have had otherwise. I basically wouldn't have had an attack, but now I have two blockers that both, or two attackers that both need to be double blocked, and a removal spell to back them up. The way that they decide to block this does result in them losing everything. I think they could have blocked a little better. If they went, like... actually, is that true? No, I don't think there was a better way. Changed my mind. In any case, I end up with still quite a bit on the board. They managed to find their Roar of Endless Song, which is extremely scary. Now at this point, I realize I've got to make some big plays in order to win this. Also, I should have had a 1/1 a turn sooner. I don't think that would have mattered. I could have turned that assistant into an extra 1/1 and had an extra 1/1 here, and that might have mattered. So I should probably have an extra 1/1 here. We could think about the effect of that on this turn. Since we're going to be trading either way, I attack, they're tapped out, so this forces them to trade the trade route Envoy and go down to 3. I know they're getting another 5/5 next turn. They can make that 5/5 into a big flying creature, which is pretty strong. But they just have yet another Disruptive Stormbrood. They got all the cool and good cards in their draft. Must be nice. Trying not to forget to make a token this time. Yeah, so I should have had an extra 1/1 here, which would not have won me the game. It would have put them down to 1. But still a mistake. Yeah, unfortunately, it's getting late in the game. My opponent has drawn 5 lands and I've drawn 10. So the longer the game goes, the more that's going to be a problem for me. I decide that there's nothing for me to do here. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. Their Roar of Endless Song goes off. They make their 10/10 a flyer, and it's off to game 3. Down to the wire, trying to figure out if there's anything else for me to do. Earthcarver has reach, would trade or eat a bunch of their dragons that they've shown. They've shown a bunch of 3/3 dragons. But it costs 6. 6 is so much. Probably cut the Abzan Monument for it. I decided to run it again as is. And just hope that on the play I can curve out a little better. Win this game. Here we go. All one color. At least there's a creature that hopefully I'll be able to protect with a Snakeskin Veil. And there's a certainly non-zero chance that I draw a swamp by turn 3. And even if I don't, there's a decent chance that I draw one of my green 3-drops or another green 2-drop. I'm happy with all of those outcomes. Aggressive Negotiations is not what I want to see here. Starting out with a 2-drop though, at least. That is something. And Sultai Devotee is a welcome sight because that will let me cast my black cards. Love to cast my spells in Magic the Gathering. Opponent, still not playing anything. CaPEM, still drawing forests. We're negotiating aggressively. Now I have something to think about. I decide that the Team Rotani back is going to be the biggest threat to me right now. They're not close to having the mana for Goldkeeper. As soon as they draw a 5th land, they get to go Tiger into a creature. And I don't like that. But I also think that next turn they'd be able to play the Tawny back for 4 mana. And that would be kind of a problem for me. It would trade for one of my 2 creatures. And I'm really trying to maximize pressure, prevent them from playing anything. So here, I decide to spread out the counters a little bit. They get Roar of Endless Song, which they will get to play if they draw a blue source or any land with Iridescent Tiger. So I could take the Tiger to prevent them from getting to double spell to get back into the game. But the problem is then if they just draw a blue land, I'm in huge trouble. So instead, I decide that I'm going to take the powerful card. And here, I punt. I have perfect information. I can double Snakeskin Veil and win the game. But the problem is, I don't know what Kin Tree Severance does. In spite of literally talking to my good friend and editor Brenny about this, 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago. No, actually, I think it was yesterday. I forget that it can't target either of my 2 creatures because they're both 2 mana or less. And so I play out another creature and I pass the turn. And now they get to Iridescent Tiger and go nuts. Of course, the good news is I do get to protect my Champion of Doosan from the Kin Tree Severance. So this is still a very good situation for me. I have 3 creatures on board. One of them has Trample. They're at 2 life, right? This is good, right? Right? And then they just play 3 creatures, one of which has lifelink. And they can trade for my whole board if I attack. And I'm in huge trouble. So I'm looking at this going, shoot, I'm pretty sure I've just punted the game. If I attack, they can block Iridescent Tiger on Champion of Doosan. And then Assistant on Devotee. Songcrafter Mage on Undergrowth Leopard. And then I'll have to Snakeskin Veil Leopard and try to win with it from there. With that and Great Arishan City? Oh, yeah, why do I have this Abzan Monument? It's so stupid to be playing that card with no white sources in the deck. Just a complete oversight. I decide I have to attack with everything, push the aggression anyway. And my opponent decides to leave themselves at 1 HP or 0 if I cast Snakeskin Veil. So thankfully I didn't have to find out what would happen if I made it to the next turn. So I managed to win. Extremely scrappy green-black counters deck, almost all commons. And taking it against a deck that's all power and very little fixing. Really getting screwed over by their mana base. So, time to continue the challenge and figure out how the rest of it goes. Pass it off to me in the slightly further past for game 2.